Good morning, I'm Deb Cambron, and my business is Herbs and Handspun, and I am here as part of the Rural Heritage event in St. Genevieve on October 26, 2019. I am spinning, I am a living historian, and today I'm creating yarn from Columbia wool. I'm creating yarn that would be considered a lace weight, so I can make baby garments and items. I have here some of my yarns and some of the items I've made. They are hand spun, hand knit, and hand dyed. And we're really sad that today's event is mostly rained out, but I am here in the Interpretive Center in St. Genevieve with Lisa Palmer, who is also doing some paper quilling. And as she likes to say, we're twirling and spinning.
We're spinning and twirling.
Spinning and twirling. We were actually together at the Green Tree Folklife Festival earlier this year. And we've been, both of us, doing living history for quite a while now. So. The wheel, its primary purpose is to put twist in the fibers. And what I'm doing is holding handfuls of wool and allowing the twist to go in. I am treadling the wheel. The wheel is actually providing the twist, pulling it in and winding it on all at the same time. And when the bobbin is full out to here, it's going to hold about 1,000 yards of yarn. That is not enough to make a sweater. And it is a very labor-intensive type of activity, but it's also very enjoyable and very relaxing. And I've been at it for over 4 years now.
About how long does it take to make the full 1,000 yarn?
If I work all day, a solid 8 hours, I might be able to get 800 yards spun. On a really good day, I can get 1,000, but I don't do anything else. It's a very long day. 1,000 yards will not make a sweater. The average pair of mittens or mitts like this is about almost 200 yards. And this yarn is plied. All my yarns are plied, meaning that I'm going to fill a bobbin, fill a second bobbin, and take a strand from each and run them back through the wheel, but I'll be treadling the opposite direction to make a 2-ply yarn. And the reason for a 2-ply yarn is it's warmer. It actually traps more air between the fibers, and it also lends to the elasticity of the fiber. And there are all kinds of fleece and fibers that can be spun. As I said, this is a Columbia sheep. It's a shorter fiber, but it's very soft. There are Lincoln sheep where the fibers are very long, but it's not as soft a wool. And of course, there's cotton and flax, which becomes linen once it's spun, and llama and alpaca, and even buffalo can be spun, muskox hair. In Australia right now, one of the popular fibers is possum. They're spinning possum hair. It's really soft. And I tell people you're only limited by your creativity. So I'm not even half done yet. So I'm going to fill this bobbin, and then I'm going to spin a whole nother bobbin full, and then I'll be taking each strand and making a 2-ply yarn, and then I can wash it again and block it, and then it'll be ready for use. If I dye it, it's usually in this format when it's in the fleece format, and the reason for that is if I get a color that I'm not real pleased with, I can blend the colors. Many times I will dye a gray fleece, this was gray, and it's been overdyed with green. This also was gray, and it was overdyed with a plum color. And so you can see the color variations are endless, really. And then there are natural fibers. These are mitts that I just finished. And the dark gray is wool, And the cream color is llama, so there are two different kinds of fibers, and they give different textures, and they lend different warmth and weight to the item. And then there's indigo, and I've been conducting a lot of indigo dye workshops lately. Indigo is an actual vat, and it's amazing the color ranges you can get with every kind of blue. And this is an example of indigo dyed wool and a pair of mittens that are of the Civil War period.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I am Lisa Palmer. My business is Never Board Creations. I have a paper filigree, also known as quilling business. Quilling is an age-old art, can actually be traced back about 500 years to the French nuns. In the 1800s, it would have been taught in the finest of finishing schools, and therefore would have been done by your upper society ladies as they sat in the parlor. This is my material. Like I said, it is paper. This is an 1/8 of an inch strip of paper. Things I like to tell people is I appreciate being different between me and the French nuns. I do have cooler tools. And I do not make or cut my paper. I do buy my paper pre-cut. It's a good quality, archival safe paper. This is the tool that I use. It does have a fine slit in it. Now, if I had been doing this in, say, the mid-1700s, I might have used a hat pen. I might even have started my roll by hand without using any tools. That slit allows me to grab the end of that paper and roll it out. I use the design board in order to make sure that all of my 6-inch strips, which is what this is, come out uniform in size. I have a very fine pair of tweezers. I'll be picking up 2 or 3 rows to maintain that size. This is a good quality art glue that I use, just a little down. So I tore my paper, I twirled my paper, I glued my paper, now I'm going to squish my paper and make my shape. That is how you do the art of paper filigree. People do ask me how I got involved with paper filigree, and I tell them, one day I got bored, and when you're raised at 20th and Plum, that'll be 20 miles to nowhere and Plum back in the sticks, you're not allowed to be bored. So I found an old quilling kit, decided to give it another hand, and it just resonated with me at that point. Sold a few boxes, and expanded into a full line of products.
These were all made using that technique?
Yes, they are. All started out looking like strips of paper, torn them down into various shapes, lengths, to create what you see.
Thank you.
Alrighty, my name is Candy Mahurin, and my husband and I own Sassafras Creek Originals at 311 St. Mary's Road. We're like 4 doors down from the Amaro House. My store is mostly 18th century handmade items, but there's also gift items for today. Many artists in the store, handmade pottery, handmade game boards, gifts like candles and things like that, home decor, a little bit of something for everyone, so come down and check us out.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Harris Maupin, and I work with horns. I'm a scrimshander and engraver from cattle horns. Make the powder horns. I make small items. Candy puts some on consignment here, and I do shows, different shows, and put out my wares.
It's all made from
Cattle horns.
cow horns, okay.
Early craft.
Early craft.
Yeah, this is like, you know, your 17th, 18th, early 19th century.
Okay.
unless you want to show individual pieces.
Show him
you want to.
show him the one with the Indian on the end.
Oh, here's an Indian style horn, and I've done some wood carving here for the face of the base of the horn. And then that's a northeastern Indian design that I put on this powder horn. And the horns are made to keep your black powder dry, so they're airtight, and they will keep your powder from getting moist.
Okay.
And here's a couple more pieces that we left here in the store.
Made out of horn.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just nice containers, a small powder flask and a box, a horn box.
Mm-hmm. And the little box, he's put a little pin there so that when you open it,
You don't reverse the top.
it'll always go back in the same way on both sides. So he scratches into the surface of the horn with a knife, and then he rubs ink into it, and that's what gives it the relief work. He's very modest.
And you can even make buttons out of horn. There's flatten a piece of horn and cut the buttons.
Those are the buttons there.
Mm-hmm. He scrimmed on those too.
Yes, I have. A little crescent moon on them.
Uh-huh. Little man in the moon.
Oh.
So that would have been on clothing like,
Or on a pouch.
mm-hmm. Any way to fasten anything.
Okay. Thank you for your time. They're real nice.
Mm-hmm.
This goes back to Native American doing twining, it's called. And what they would do is make their mats. You can see them back in Mississippian period. Made mats out of reeds, just like we're doing here. This is what we kind of call recycling. When you take old denim wear, and what you're doing is making it into a rug instead of throwing it away for the landfill. And so what you have to do is learn how to, I have trouble being a lefty, but when you're starting from the right side, you go right over left and under. See how I'm gone under, pull up, again right, over left, and under. And this can be kind of soothing, you know, if a lot of ladies go after this, you know, just to relax. But I do make these looms. We have found out that we revised a 1930s craft that went back into the Delta where they didn't throw away the clothes or the fabric. They went ahead and just made rugs. The story goes back as far there in the Delta that Drew remembered one lady that made this. And so that's what got us started. And of course I made one, and next thing you know, we're on the internet.
Well, she used picture frames to make hers,
The
and
whole
then
picture frame.
John devised a way of putting the metal rods on the side to keep it
Keep it
from,
taut.
yeah, so it's even all the way down.
You see how
And there's
that,
what it looks like from
this
there.
is how it turned out. If you didn't have, sometimes if you pulled too tight on these, it would collapse in. They find that in crocheting a lot, you have to lax off a little bit. This one, you just go to it until it quits, until you run out of fabric. This is our little, what we call a mug rug. When you sit on the table, just sit your mug on it.
And it's a good size.
And it's a good size for it. Of course, you can always put the dirty fork and knife in it. And you just throw it in the washing machine just like you would your clothes. So that's what we do. And the looms and everything are constructed from the old picture frame as well as research into it. It goes back as far as Egyptian time, them doing them on looms. And of course, Native American, everything was done on looms. Even tanning their deer hides and everything was done on a loom. So There it is.
Thank you. Can I get your name?
My name is John Holt, and my wife Drew Duncan. Drew? She's,
Well, I'm working on a primitive cake, actually, doing it the old way. Where I felted the fabric, it's an old,
blanket.
yeah, it's old, was it a blanket? Yeah, it was a blanket. It's an old blanket, and I took it and cleaned it because were a few holes. It didn't really have holes, but it had some meaning on it. And then I felted it. And so whenever you felt it, the wool gets very close together, so all you have to do is cut it. But to keep it from rattling too far back, then I'm just stitching it very primitively. And it will end up being, see if I can get it, a cake for costumes for reenactors. It just go over like that, and then you just take a pin and pin it.
And that goes back to England and
Yeah,
Scotland.
well, it's British, it's also French colonial,
French
they wore
colonial.
them in French colonial. It goes back to the 18th century. But it's just about finished. I'm thinking about putting some kind of decoration on this one, but I haven't decided what. But they're really warm, especially when you're wearing costumes. You can't very well wear your slicker coat or anything like that.
Nutmeg, cinnamon.
They're rather heavy, but that's what I'm doing while I'm watching him.
Teaching me.
I had to remind him, he makes the looms all the time, and so he never forgets that, but if it's a while since he's done the weaving, then I have to refresh him. So we were at the State Felix Ballet yesterday, and I was giving him a refresher course, but we was also showing a lot of the visitors what we're doing. He's done well.
I try.
Thank you both for your time.
Oh, anytime, sir.
My name is Lindsay Mahurin, and I am the owner of Gypsy Grove, and I do a lot of wire work with beads and rocks, and it's generally natural stones. Like, I use a lot of marble. There's so many different variations naturally, and I've always been really into rocks and trees, and that's how I kind of combined it. I call everything a rock, whether it be a precious stone or whatever have you. And then another thing is I take a lot of natural stones that have been turned into beads and use steel rings so the pendant itself doesn't get squished with just actively wearing it, and make different trees with them. And then I do some things that are similar to things in nature, but like this is faux bamboo coral, but I don't feel comfortable using like a real animal for jewelry purposes. And then when I do like on the stones, I double wrap them because I feel like you get like two different options that way. Or if a necklace flips over when you're wearing it, you might not realize you still are like showing people kind of what you're wearing. And so I just think that kind of makes them a little more fun maybe. And then I also make different window. You can do them on the window or the wall. And the clear ones especially look pretty in the window, like a kitchen window or just wherever you'd want to have it. And they also go great on the wall. And like I have this one here that I made with, I believe that, yep, that's lapis lazuli in the middle and obsidian on top and bottom, and that was for support of police officers. And then I do a lot of earrings and earring necklace sets. And then that ring there on the corner top, that's the 4 seasons. It goes from the top clockwise: winter, spring, summer, and fall. And then like this one here, that's supposed to be the moon through the trees, because I really I really appreciate trees and all the different ways they're presented. Like, they're still really pretty in no matter the season or where they're from. And so, yep. And then I've wrapped a little bit of arrowheads, but that'll be another thing I will offer. And these are jasper here, and I'm on Facebook. I will be having a website soon, but it's Gypsy_Grove, and then Lindsay's Gypsy Grove is like the I don't know, the little identifier on at the top there, and I've been doing it for about 9 or 10 months. This is where I generally will set like my beads, or those are have it just kind of like a steady little space, and it helps for the chains and the cords to get them to a length that really popular. And I forgot, these here are bookmarks, and they just slip into a book, and the pendant is on the outside, so they're fun little things. And I do custom orders too, so if someone has a preference of color or stone or crystal, if I can find it, I can make it. So yep.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Can I get your name?
Yes. Mine is Pam Crouch.
Hi, I'm Jeannie Wills.
We're with the Heartland Lace Guild. Our meeting is in Paducah, Kentucky, and we've been coming to St. Genevieve's Heritage Days for a lot of years. We couldn't remember exactly how many. What we are doing is bobbin lace. This is the way lace was made in the 15 through early 1800s. It's called bobbin lace because each thread has its own bobbin. It's called pillow lace because we make it on a pillow. Or it's called bone lace because the original bobbins were a lot of times made from bones. It's very simple to do. There are 2 movements and 3 basic stitches, and with those you can make a wide variety of lace. I don't think I have seen any lace that doesn't use those 2 movements as a basis of what they do. Jeannie has 2 display pillows, and then the one she's working on.
This one right here, this one is actually an antique French bobbin lace pillow. Age-wise, I really don't know, but it's pretty old. And these are the typical French bobbins that you would see on a French pillow. It's kind of a tangled mess, unfortunately, right now. That's the way I got it, and I haven't spent the time to untangle it yet. The other pillow I'm working on is just called a cookie pillow. It's round, shaped like a cookie, a big cookie, and it you use for working on projects that are relatively small, in which you need to move your pillow around. Then you have this pillow is a roller pillow, and it's used to make yards of lace. So something that you want to make in yards, you would make on this. The pattern goes all the way around the pillow, and you just keep repeating it, making as many yards as you want. This right here is about 2 yards right here. And this pillow is a nice compact size. I call it a travel pillow, so it's easy to travel with, doesn't take very long to set it up, and I have a little case that it fits into nicely, and it travels. So you can make yards of lace, you can make items like the butterfly here that I'm working on the pillow. This was actually going to be a bookmark, I do believe. So you can make things like Christmas ornaments. So you can make a Christmas ornament. And then this is a reindeer, a Christmas ornament. So you can make Christmas ornaments. And then, like I said, you can make yards of lace. So it's depending on what you want to make. Or, as in Pam's case, she's working on a hat. So she's making a hat.
Right now I have the brim of the hat on the pillow. and that's the crown of the hat. And then I have the bonnet that matches my outfit, where I've added lace to it and on the dress. I have necklaces, and again, you've got anything that you can think of, you can make out of lace, you can decorate with. A lot of the lace that you see in historical pictures from Queen Elizabeth or Sir Walter Raleigh, where they're just dripping in all that lace, all of that was handmade. And generally the lower class made it, and the upper class could afford to purchase and wear it. I could go on with lots of history if you want. Just
Well, you can do that. Can you show me a bit of the? I didn't get any video of
Sure.
the movements.
okay. Regardless of how many bobbins that you have on your pillow, you only deal with 4 at a time, or 2 pair. You have 2 movements, a cross and a twist. A cross, if you number the positions of the bobbins, 1, 2, 3, 4, a cross is always 2 going over 3 to the right, and a twist is always 2 and 4 moving to the left over 1 and 3. So you have a cross and a twist. If you do it once, it's a half stitch. The pattern I'm working on is half stitch, so you simply move across the pillow, doing the same thing. Cross and a twist. Cross, twist, all the way to the other side. And that gives this pattern here. If you do a cross, twist, if you do a cross, twist, cross, you get a linen stitch, which looks like woven fabric. And then if you do a cross, twist, that's a whole stitch. And it has a tighter, it's hard to see, but that's the one through here. It's a tight, straight line. There is 3 different examples in the display there. The one all the way to the left is what we call the beginner pattern. We start all of our lace makers on it. That is a very simple cross twist pattern to teach you the movements. The second one, the second long one, the whiter one, is called Bedfordshire 9-pin edging, and that's because it takes 9 pins to make the scalloped edging. The last one on the right has the outside edges are called fans. The inside decoration, one is a spider element and the other one is a rose ground. Everything there is done with a cross and a twist. A lot of lace initially was made from gold and silver wire. So they would take the gold and stretch it very fine, and then they would use it to make the lace. And a lot of the kings and queens liked the gold lace and the silver lace. It was very popular. Just some general information about what we are as a guild. And one of the reasons that we come here is because one of our mandates, I guess, is to educate, and this is a good way to do it with demonstration at period because it is an older craft. Lace makers was a huge industry in Europe. It did come to America, but not in the quantities and in the can't think of the word. Not as a big a presence, I guess, would be the best way to put it, as was in Europe, because you have everything from the farmer to grow the linen through the merchants and then the lace makers, and it was about an 18-month process from planting seed to getting the thread in order to make the lace. There was instances where recorded that the aristocracy bought so much lace that they would bankrupt their estates with it. There was one instance where a country had a recession going on, and the queen decided she was going to burn all of her lace. And in doing so, she said, well, I'm a queen, I can't be without my lace. Lace makers, make me some more lace. Well, in order for them to do that, the farmers had to plant, the merchants had to, or the spinners had to spin the thread all the way up through the lace making to get her more lace. And so it was an economic package, I guess, in that sense. There's a lot of stories and history associated with lace. They had lace schools in the late early 1800s, where the children would go at age 6 and board with the lace maker until about age 16, when they became lace makers. At the time, a 5-year-old child could make approximately they paid 33 cents a week. A lace maker could make 70 cents a week. And while this wasn't enough for them to get rich on, it did provide a tremendous boost, because that was more than the castle servants or the field laborers made. And it was a craft that she could take with her, or him, they did teach both, male and female, their whole life. So, that's a history.
Yeah.
Lots of facts.